Hey guys, we're going to do some more Spelljammer artwork today. We're going to work on the Creature Menagerie in the book. We are in the we're in a tight spiral for having this thing done. We're getting it. We're getting there. So let's see. Let me check my signal. Make sure I'm coming through clear. I'll kick out a quick intro, and then we'll get into the chapter. So mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Sounds like he's coming through okay to me. Check my signal over here. Bring my mic in. Hey, what's up, guy? Bring my mic into focus, and get it out of focus. Just want it close to my face, not in camera. There we go. Let's see. Pop, 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 pop. So I'm going to say some words real quick, just to fill the space while I press a bunch of buttons to kick out promotion that I'm live. My name is Theurgy. Hey, I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. I've been focusing attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since the release of the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, probably back in, I think that was in 2017. That's when I started creating content for 5e. You can check out the 5-color mana spell point variant rules down below. That converts spellcasting from slots in the 8 schools to the 5 colors of magic with color mana to fuel your magic. You can also check out the Martial Powers playlist that I've been building out, which is going to be going into playtesting here shortly. I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Theurgy. Get this out of the way. There you go. Hey, look at me. I'm at Theurgy. If you're still on the platform, be welcome to follow. If you find this today's session and any of the other sessions that I hold during the week interesting, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications that I'll be live again. I'm here 6 days a week live, and then I post a video recorded on Sundays. So I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, I publish them online. Spelljammer's Combat and Exploration came out in August 2022. I wanted to run a Spelljammer campaign. My table's excited about it. I've been homebrewing my new campaign during lunchtime as a separate playlist. You can check that out on this channel as well. I wanted to have more mechanical depth akin to what was in the 2nd edition, but using 5e sensibilities. And I like the chassis of what Spelljammer's Adventures in Space put out, blending the multiverse with Spelljammer. I just wanted to make sure it gave us combat and options like 5e does. So we converted the combat spellcasting and exploration chapters of the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide and converted it into something that can be used with ships at the 50 and 500 foot scale, capable of moving 100 million miles per day. It's a bit of a different type of campaign than your typical hex crawl. So we built that stuff out, and we play test it. It works. We hire an editor, Adam Hancock, to help us wordsmith it down. Joseph Vargas, ukulele bard, helped with writing and the mechanical concepts. So big shout out to both of those guys for helping me get this thing together. So once the ideas work, we break up the thing into bite-sized ideas that fit on the page. All these blank spots that you see on each page, this is where the illustrations go. So we have this blank spot here. We then go over here into Photoshop. We created this cover like around episode 15, so you can see our full playlist here of all the previous 300 episodes to today. So this was back around episode 15, but so we'll take a page of art. We'll take a page here. It needs art. So getting this out of the way, we bring it here into Photoshop, and then we start making art. So let's keep after it. Yeah, so this is what we're doing today. So let's click here, and beep beep. That's a little icon. So you don't get to see this a lot, but here's the button down on the navigation bar. Menu, ships and equipment, equipment and ships, combat, spellcasting, exploration, hazards, creatures menagerie, wild system generator, and conversion guide for Lattice Araxis. Those are the things there. But then we know we're on the first page of the chapter because that icon appears up here in the corner as well. So that's a fun little thing. When this is a PDF, you'll be able to click on these buttons and it'll take you to the beginning of each of these chapters. And of course, this being the menu, this will take you back to the front page where you can then hyperlink down to whatever it is that you want. And as a properly strung up PDF, it'll have a hyperlink table of contents rail on the left-hand side when you open that up. So right now, I'm going to integrate this color into the image that we have so I can make it properly blend. I created this illustration before before I locked into an aesthetic that I wanted for the layouts. So I'm going through this process here. Of blending it down and hit 0 for the erase button. There we go. You know what? Nah, fuck it. Let's just keep in curve with this here. We'll figure this out. We're gonna make it blend into the page just like we do with everything else. So that is our endeavor currently. And we'll see if it turns out okay. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. We'll see. But the framing of this illustration doesn't match the general aesthetic of any of the other pages so far, so I need to make this one integrate a little bit more properly into the rest of the work. I bet I can keep that bottom across there like that. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's take our brush, cloud chalk. There you go. Just gonna start blending this in. Lighten up the intensity of the strength of the smudge here to help dump on some more paint into the space here, let it blend into it. We're experimenting here. I don't know how it's going to turn out. Maybe it'll be okay, maybe it won't. There we go. Oh yeah, I finished the, I was able to, when we last left off yesterday, I was attempting to resolve the fleet statistics and mapping page that we had laid out. We hadn't finished. I had to argue with the text. We were fucking around with the text inside of the Word program to accommodate the maps that we had created here. So boy, you are taking your sweet time here, honey. I'm going to take a sip of coffee while I wait for this thing to load, but I wanted to show you the end result of that page, which is, you know, why we've moved on to the Creatures Menagerie, because we finished Doomspace up for everything that we needed in the document. We have 4 pages left in the Light of Xerax's conversion guide. It's for Act 4. Saviors of the Multiverse, where the team takes their fleet and engages the Xeraxian Empire to save the world. Spoiler alerts. But I need to the state of the condition, the pages, those 4 pages, they need work. They all needed work. It's just I didn't have the mechanical chops to do it till now, apparently. So at the last minute, of course. Which is going to curve nicely into the Eberron adventure that we streamed last night. We're building out a maybe like a 90-page adventure there, and this 25-page chunk of Light of Xeraxis has really helped us be able to build that skill set for us to be able to accomplish it. But so here's what we have. Here is how this panned out. We've got the token of Vokath And then we've got the Aarakocra faction, the Artuk faction, the Sauron faction, the Thri-kreen and Hadozi faction, and then the Mercane faction. And then you got your 2 ships here that are part of... So the Mercane contribute a crap load of ship. And here's what the Kreen offer, 4 Scorpions. Here's what the Hadozi offer, 3 Galleons. Here's the 6 Shrikes that the Aarakocra offer. The Artuk have 6 Lampreys. And the Sauron have 6 Wasps. It's a little racist, but baby steps, wizards, baby steps. So we have 2 squadrons of 3 vessels each. It's a 9x9 squadron. There's 2 of them. And the chapters above, we talk about a squadron is any number of ships that equal up to 10 squares worth of space. So this is a 3x3, 3x3, 3x3. That's 9x9, which is within capacity for the 10x10 block. You can fit more than 1 squadron inside of a 500-foot square. There's a 10x10 space of I could technically fit a 3rd squadron inside this space if they're all going to be, you know, tail to tip, which is fine if we did that. But the Saurons only contributed 6 ships, so that conveniently creates 2 squadrons, right? We have 2 squadrons here as well. The Artuks also 3x3 vessels, 9x9, 9x9. The Aarakocra we're exemplifying here, also 3x3 ships of the Strikes, but this is broken into 3 squadrons of 2x2, 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 right? So the fleet damage, these are all using 2nd rank crews because it's just easy. You're 5th level, you're 8th level right now when we do this. So that's 2nd rank. That means that most you can command a 2nd rank crew efficiently. So everyone's rolling a d6. Your command die is a d6 instead of your proficiency bonus of +3. And the crew advances their damage die as a squadron based on the rank of the crew. D4, D6, D8, D10, D12. There. So the Aarakocra fleet. I should probably make this a tear-out video for Sunday, you think? I was thinking about doing something about the Rieger, but this is probably going to be a little bit more valuable. If I can get done with the Lyzaraxis chapter, when I finish that, I will buff out and talk about squadrons specifically. So I probably will do Rieger this weekend. And save the Lyzaraxis for, what'll that be? That'll be the 11th. So if everything goes according to plan, the 11th will be the last Sunday that I post a video before the book publishes, hopefully on Tuesday. So that means that this would be perfect to have the 11th be the last official video that I create for Sundays prior to having this thing released, because it'll be talking about the final battle in Lyzaraxis. So that's perfect, actually. So we'll probably do the power of the Rieger on the 4th, and then we'll do the fleets and squadrons on the 11th, and then we'll publish the book probably on the 13th. Let me get rid of that. Yeah, so obviously we could fit another squadron inside here as well. So you can put 9 ships that are 3x3s. 9, yeah, for a total of 3 squadrons at 9x9. But again, these guys only contributed 6 ships. So we see this is 3 squadrons that are broken into 2 vessels per squadron, 6x6, instead of 2 squadrons of 3 which is 9x9. You can see that the 500-foot space that these ships occupy, the amount of damage that they're dealing is the same. The siege damage is the same as 18d6 times 10 damage. That's a very large die roll, I know. You could do it as a d6 times 200 damage if you wanted to round it off. That'd be a lot easier for you to math through. We have a section up above about simplifying die rolls, just to get the gist of it. But you can see that the reload scores here for an entire for this type formation of squadrons is incredibly high, but individually it's pretty manageable. You're going to roll a d6. If you roll a 4 or above on your command die roll when you make an attack with siege weapons, or in this case, squadrons worth of siege weapons, you're going to roll your d6. If you get a 4 or above, that means that all of the squadrons have coordinated their crew to be able to line up a shot so everyone can fire together. If you botch that 12 on a d6, which is guaranteed, that means that you have to operate each ship individually. So I can have this is a reload score of 4. This is 66, this is 66, and this is 66. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. That's the number of dice that you roll. Their rank, which is second rank, we have up here. And second rank crews. So second rank rolls a d4, d6. It's a d6 that they roll. So 6 d6, and their siege weapons, so it's times 10. So this squadron alone, as a single attack, can do 6d6 times 10 damage against ships that have like 400 damage a pop. Like a Star Moth has 400 hit points. It's a 200-foot long ship that has 400 hit points by itself before the pilot gets involved. And this squadron, at best, this squadron of 2 Shrike ships, can do potentially 360 damage to that Star Moth before damage reduction and before the pilot intervenes to take damage. So obviously this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, as opposed to a Star Moth, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4 squad ship by itself. 2 Star Moths is 8 by 8. The 2 Star Moths are more powerful than the Shrike, but 2 Shrike are more powerful than a single Star Moth. So you can see, but if you have 32 Star Moths on the board, having a squadron, 1, 2, 3 squadrons can take out a single 4x4, two Star Moths, 8x8 squadron themselves. So this is a collection of 9x9 versus the 8x8 squadron of Star Moths. It's a fairly fair fight. If we're talking about soldier versus goblin, CR1, you've got basically a 50-50 chance of either one of them dropping the other in an attack. This is going to take probably about 2 attacks for you to be able to eliminate one squadron to another. And you get 1 attack with all of those weapons, but the reload score of 12, it's impossible for you to hit that on a d6. So now you have to eat up action economy to reload these 3. So that's basically how that would work. If you were in command of this Aarakocra faction, and if you have 6 characters, then each character can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each of these 500-foot squares could be 1 character each. If you have less than 6 players, then you can share command, like you can group these 2 together to be a single unit that's going to do, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 10, 20, 30, 40. There's 40 squares worth of fleet between these 2 500-foot squares. So the damage that these things do is d6 times 400, or as a mounted weapon, it's half of that, d6 times 100, with a significantly lower reload score for each. Oh, that's my single squadron there. I'm going to have to, yep, did it, beep, beep. Yeah, each one of these, like this unit here is 10 by 10. That's 1, 2, 3 ships. So a mounted weapon reloads on a reload score of 1, while the mounted weapons have a reload score of 8, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 divided by 2. No, sorry, it's 10 minus the rank of the crew, which is 10 minus 2 equals 8. And then the number of ships for mounted weapons, the number of ships, 1, 2, 3, minus the crew is 2. So the reload score for these 3 ships together is a reload score of 1. These 2 ships together minus 2 is 0. It could be a minimum of 1. So each time these fire the mounted weapons, which is just a bunch of chain guns that are harpoon flingers that are mounted on the side of your boat, it doesn't do nearly as much damage as the siege weapons do. Hey, Bootleg, how you doing? Right on. Well, you are certainly welcome to be here. And good luck on your interview. Is it a job interview, or is it some sort of a news piece that you're doing? Or are you conducting the interview? I don't know anything about you. But yeah, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squadron, or 6. Technically, these are fleets. They're 3 squadrons, 2 squadrons, 2 squadrons, 2 squadrons, 2 squadrons, and 2 squadrons inside of each one of these 500-foot footprints. So that would be, technically each one of them is their own fleet. If you have more than 1 squadron, it's technically a fleet. If you stack on a bunch of squadrons, it's still a fleet. I could, I guess, make a definition of an armada, but armada means fleet in Spanish, so let's not be insulting, shall we? An armada isn't bigger than a fleet. It's the same thing. So, hey, good luck then. I wish you fantastic luck. So there's the ships here. 3 times 2, it's 6. 6, 6, that's 18. So that's why we're throwing 18 dice. Their second rank crew and their siege weapons, which is times 10 damage. But again, this has 260 hit points per. When you deal damage to this square, the commander of this squadron decides how the damage is distributed between the ships. So like in the example of, say, a squadron of star moths, if 2 star moths were to deal, say, 400 it wouldn't be 400 damage. It would be 8d6 times. Yeah, it could be 400 damage. So if a squadron of star moths dealt, say, 400 damage to this formation, then it would I could divide that 400 damage between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ships. So like it'd be like 65 damage per ship, and each ship has 260 hit points. So with that kind of damage being dealt by a fleet, I could weather 5, maybe 6 shots. Probably with the law of numbers, it'd probably end up being 4 or 5 hits, which is basically like a 5th level fighter fighting an ogre. So you're going to have 8 squadrons of star moths on the field versus 6 squadrons worth of tiles for the players, and then you can combine them to connect together to deal group damage. But again, every time you fire all these together, it's impossible for you to hit the reload score on your D6 command die. So that means that we'd have to take 1 action, 2 action, 3 actions, 4 actions, 5 actions, 6 actions, 6 actions, 7 actions, 8 actions to have all of these ships fire again together for D6 times 100 damage. So it's a big hit, but it's going to take a lot of action economy to be able to reload all of those ships together. If I have 2 characters that are overseeing, like if I only have 1 character that's overseeing all of the squadron, I'll get a huge volley off. But then for the rest of the combat, I'm going to be basically commanding like a reload score, a reaction to reload, an action at 5th level fighter. So reload, action is attack, attack. That's 3 ships that I can reload and then use my bonus action to fire again, which I'll automatically fail the check, because the check then would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 3 is 15. I'm automatically going to fail that reload. So I can get 1 volley of 8 ships to fire the first round, and then from there I'm basically able to have 3 ships attack with my own action economy per round. So big volley hit, and then less damage each round they're in. But there's a shitload of damage that these can take. Each of these squid ships can take 500. This hammerhead ship can take 500. The galleon can take 260. The living ship can take 160. There is a ton of damage that this squadron can take collectively. But I can only deal so... If I had 2 characters that were running this squadron together in tandem, they could share their reactions, their attacks, and their bonus actions to load and then fire multiple ships during 1 round. That's going to eat up all of the action economy of 2 characters on your team. So if you have 6 characters in your team, and some people run 6 people when they're playing this, then each character can command a single squadron and be able to mostly be able to reload and fire each squadron. But chances are, if you only have 4 players, have 1 over here, 2 here, 3, 4. Like you probably like group 2 of these, group these 2, and then group these 2. So you'd have 3 characters that are commanding 2 squadrons each. And then your 4th character is going to use their action economy to either act as the pilot to maneuver the squadron, and then use bonus actions and reactions to help other characters reload their weapons, or use, like, say, an action or a bonus action to help aim, so that you get an advantage on the attack roll for whoever it is that you're assisting. So if everybody's on the living vessel here, commanding all of these ships using the orrery stations that are like basically like radar, sonar, holographic systems that lets you imagine or to visualize ships and stuff in like Star Wars, right? We call it an orrery station. It's a hologrammatic display that you can use a messaging system through other orreries that are, you sync all your orreries together so you can have free communication with each other while you're within visual or scanning range of each other. As long as you can see each other, you can speak with each other through these orreries. So everyone can be on one ship, whichever one you want, presumably the living ship, inside of this huge fleet. So this is your command vessel, and they can't get to you until they actually get inside. Like, they can't target your ship individually unless they're inside the 500-foot space with you. So if we had enemy ships that were flying in here, that would be like little flitter ships. They occupy 50-foot squares, but flitter ships do very little damage. So the living ship would be able to afford to take multiple hits from a single little flitter, like little fighter craft that would fly into the formation, like Star Wars. You're flying along larger ships, attacking each other and taking pot shots at the larger ships. We're trying to concentrate fire on the weapons. Like, I could take out the trebuchet here and these ballistas to render this ship without ranged weapons unless I do a ram attack. Then I could coordinate this crew to ram into another squadron, to scuttle that squadron and break them apart into individual ships. Like, all these mechanics we cover up in the combat chapter. That's a lot of damage. Yeah, but again, it can soak a lot of damage too. Like, this ship can take 500. A squadron of Star Moths can do at best 400 damage, right? So that means that this squid ship's going to be able to weather at least 2 hits from a squadron of Star Moths. They only have 8 squadrons. So, 16. But you can stack 2 of them inside of a square. So you can put 2 8. Like, this is 2 10x10s. You could just as easily put 2 8x8s. So you've got 8 squares worth of Star Moths versus your 6 squares worth of characters. But the goal isn't to destroy the fleet. The goal is to sever the connection that the Citadel of Light has to the sun, so that it can't fuel power to destroy your world anymore. That's your actual goal. You have enough firepower. If you can get through all the Star Moths to the Citadel, you have enough firepower to destroy the Citadel so that it can't deal damage anymore. But you're going to be killing a lot of people in the process of that. You could also Garganhael, the pirate who commands the living this galleon, the Last Breath. A vampire has an invisibility spell that can make the entire ship invisible. So you can use all of this as a distraction of combat to close enough distance to get so that your ship can get past the fleet, land on the Citadel of Light, and then storm the Citadel on your feet, which is how they want you to run the adventure. You could use my method, which is destroy the Citadel with raw damage. It'll be an extrapolated fight, maybe like 8-9 rounds worth of combat to be able to do that. So it'll take you an hour or so to be able to resolve that using normal 5e mechanics. Or you could use this as a distraction, engage in combat, and then sideline the combat to being like 2 or 3. Like, you could spend an action economy. Well, once you land on the Citadel and you get out of your ships, you can't command the squadron anymore unless the DM is just allowing you to command them as NPCs without your characters actually being there. Without your characters actually being there, they can't use their hit points to help protect the ships from taking extra damage. So you'll lose more ships with your characters not there. But if you still wanted to conduct the fight in the sky while your characters were advancing, you could just toggle between the battles during your round of combat, using their own action economy of 1 attack, 1 bonus action, and 1 reload versus the Xeraxians. But you'd be able to whittle down maybe 2/3 of the Xeraxians before this fleet loses if the characters leave it on its own. And that's the fleet will eventually get destroyed, and technically the adventurer doesn't care. But if your characters care, then they're probably going to try to do something to keep the fleet around. So chances are, if they care about the fleet, they're going to try to destroy the Citadel with their fleet, dodging through Xeraxian ships in the process, losing a lot of them. That's war. Or if you don't care about the fleet and you want to stay focused on the characters, you leave the fleet, stealth your way onto the Citadel, and then go through the rest of the adventure the way that they expect you to in the book. So we'll provide you with both options. What happens if you destroy the Citadel using our method? End of adventure. If you don't destroy the Citadel, then you're either going to get chased off and you lose, not likely, or you'll have the opportunity to land on the Citadel and then conduct foot-to-foot combat, which is the fail state of the game. Anytime you fail in D&D, it leads to combat. That's just how the narrative of the game works. So if the fleet starts to fall apart, at any time, Garganhael can invisible your ship and you can fly to the Citadel. Well, this fleet stuff isn't happening. Let's take it to the streets, and then you can fly into the city, into the Citadel, and start dealing with it that way. Anyway, that's a lot of pontification. But I wanted to show you guys that I finished this thing last night, like I said I would. I'm a man of my word. But most importantly, this was the last page in the third act for the Chaos and Doomspace. Thank you. So here's the Doomspace map that we built. Here is the fortress, Vocast's fort, and the different factions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Vocath is 6. And then here's your Garganhail's ship, and here's your living ship. And then here's the bigger picture when the Xeraxians show up and they surround the Citadel. This is what that looks like. They have 12 ships in the adventure. They surround the fortress and the docking ships. They needed to have enough distance away so that they would be able to have, like they say, they're 250 feet away from anything. That fits inside this 500-foot space. We just push it out to 500 feet instead of 250. They chose 250 feet because it's out of reach. So it could be 1,000 feet. It really doesn't matter. So we just stretch it to 500 feet. But that's your basic formation. And as we discussed before, ironically, Vocast's fortress sits inside of a 500-foot space. So we added to this Vocast base, Area 4, Audience Chamber. The throne is a disguised major spell jamming helm that Vocast can use to reposition the base as needed. The base is 500 feet in length, the maximum size that a single major helm can pilot. So this is actually a spell jamming ship that is just built as a base, right? So that all these ships are docking at these different docks. We actually put out in my Discord channel the preliminary artwork for what this looks like as a battle station, as a giant 500-foot crab with a giant laser. Fucking cool. We'll build that out when this is done. But anyway, I just wanted to show this section off. Yeah, so it's fun. We'll build that thing out. That'll be probably that mecha living ships, like sentient ships as allies, as like your pet. A man's best friend is his ship. We have rules for animating and awakening vessels so that they can become companions. Like sidekicks, expert sidekicks, or spellcasting sidekicks, or warrior sidekicks. 3 different types of ships that you can animate to be your Pokemon ally at the 500-foot scale, if that's the kind of campaign you want to run. That is a supplement. War Mecha, Warforged, adopting bodies that are 50 or 500 feet in size, or being piloted like Jaegers or Gundams. That's another book that we're going to do. And then we have Vocast Warbase will be the 3rd piece. And then we'll probably do something for Neogi and Illithid. So there's 5, these 10, 15 page books that we can build on top of these mechanics to add extra depth to stuff that you can do in Spelljammer. And this is all preliminary. This is all basically practice for when I decide to do my own thing as Kickstarters in an independent system. I'll be able to take all this tech and basically build a space opera 5e game using all these mechanics, but reflavoring them so that they're not Spelljammer, so that they're whatever type of ships that I want to build. But I'm not there yet, so I'm using all of this stuff as practice to figure out. You can't copyright mechanics, you can only copyright how you explain the mechanics. So I'm really happy about building this stuff out for Spelljammer, because Spelljammer's wooden ship aesthetic is different from the altered carbon sort of approach I want to take to role playing. Like the idea of sentient sleeves, like the stacks that are on your neck that you can then load into other bodies. That is a type of role playing. That is a type of role playing experiences that I, as a DM, enjoy. Having that I'm immortal, but everything I attempt is either advancing my cause or a setback to my goals. And so your characters aren't ever at risk of dying, but they could become pointless, or entrapped someplace, or just not have any influence over the society that they value. I think that's a fun sort of approach to immortality, that by the time I finish all this stuff, I should have mechanical chops to build something like that. And using all these different guild and scaling mechanic systems that we've been developing here is going to basically curve into that sort of Immortals type of campaign. Anyway, we'll see where it goes. That's the stuff I think about. That's what I think about when I'm staring into the void. You know, your mileage may vary. But yeah, I can take all of this stuff and rebuild it from a different... Like, I could go to Cypher and take all this stuff into Cypher really easily. It just depends on what kind of a system I want. I love 5e, so I'm not leaving it. But if Hasbro becomes hostile and kicks us out of the game space, that's fine. I'll just take my ideas and build someplace else. But while it's still good, I'm still going to use... I mean, my goal has always been... I'm such a fanboy to D&D. It's been my cherished hobby since I was 12. So the DM's Guild allows me to use the words and actually say the things: Spelljammer, Planescape, Dragonlance, Ravnica. I can actually use these IPs on the DM's Guild. So I'm going to use them on the DM's Guild. It might not be the best fiscal decision long term for me to play inside of their fence, but it's where my passion is at. It's what I've always wanted to do. It's my bucket list. I can clear this and create a new karmic chain for myself to forge a new reality, because I'll have been content that I had the opportunity to do with these things the things that I wanted to do. So if you're into that sort of stuff, destiny and bucket lists and karma and shit. Not everyone believes in that stuff, and I don't hold it against you if you don't. But it's for things that don't really have defining language. It's good enough to be able to speak in those sort of terms. Bootleg Man, I'm glad you like it. I've been working on it for over a year, like 16 months now. That's about how long the Color Mana spell point variant rules that I created took. And I am very, very proud of Color Mana. That is, if Wizards wanted to lean into a Magic the Gathering role-playing game using the 5e engine, that is absolutely the most efficient way to do it. It fucking works. It just works. And that had been my shining achievement as a creative, as a creator for the past 4 years until this happened. Now I think this is more. I think that this creates a larger narrative space by redefining 5e mechanics at its core. The Color Mana system is just replacing the 8 schools of magic and spell slots to a Color Mana system, which is a massive endeavor unto itself, but niche. There's not a huge call for Magic the Gathering role-playing game, otherwise it would already exist. There's just not enough of an audience that transfers over, or that market hasn't been properly developed to do so. It could be, I think, but it's not my IP. I just get to play with it. So this is a bigger deal for me, because this is creating something that it's still niche. Spelljammer is still niche, but it has a very long tradition of people that like Spelljammer and are interested in cool Spelljammer stuff. So this is a good next step for me as a developer. This is the direction I want to go in, creating innovative ideas that are more... I feel like I'm locked up here. I'm going to save this and close it. My pixels aren't moving the way that I want them to, which tells me that the streaming software is glitching against Photoshop a bit. So I had to restart the program. There we go. Burp, burp, burp. Good again, Bootleg. Good luck on your interview, man. I know you're gonna bounce out of here at any time. I am looking forward to hearing how it goes. Legitimately, I love people that get to interview for jobs. I love the excitement and the unknown and just the potential. Just the smell. Like it smells like a new baby. You know, the potential of a new job. It just breathes life into everything that you are. Even if it ends up being something you don't want or don't like. It's completely shaking everything about your life into a new order. 15 minutes, my guy. I love doing Wispy Cloud stuff. It's so fun. Just bleed that stuff into each other. What a joy. I didn't know I'd be doing this today, but I looked up and was like, wait, the Doomspace is done. What's next? And I didn't want to just drop images into blanks in the Word document. That's kind of boring. Although we're getting close to just process, we're super close to being done with creative work and just like streaming up the documents, like all the hyperlinks work inside of the Word document. Dropping in, like creating all the holdings, like all the squares where all the artwork will go into the pages. Like that's something I have to string up. The navigation bar here at the bottom, I have to build a hyperlink, basically an invisible plate that we drop over this in the Word document. It'll be, and then it'll have basically invisible, like clear PNG images that drop over each of these as like a clear cell. And so in Word you can click on the clear cell and it will be a hyperlink that, like, if I click on this, I'm not clicking this picture, I'm clicking a square, an invisible square that sits on top of it inside of the Word document. And when I click on that, it'll be hyperlinked to this icon here. So that's what leads you to the front end of this chapter. So if I were to click on this, this would suddenly churn from that to this. See, it would invert. But then when I go up to the top of the page, it wouldn't be in the Creature Menagerie, I'd be in the Combat chapter instead. So then at the front, so then at the bottom rail here for the entire Combat chapter, the ballista is highlighted, so that you can just have that little. It's not important. It's not important for the document at all to do that. It's just a little quality of life thing. It's polish. It's that just a little spark of polish that is a subtle nod to Phil actually knows what the fuck he is doing with these documents. It's a quiet flex to have something like that on the bottom rail. God willing, it should work out fine. I've never done something this ornate before, but I've done similar hyperlink stuff in my documents and other documents that I do. I build those little navigation buttons and I hide them around the document, like without specifically calling attention to them. But in here, I'm making it much more pronounced. But it's just a design flex to be able to build cool things like that. It just adds to the overall quality of the piece. Like it elevates it, I think is the word that the chefs would use. It just elevates the quality of the piece a little bit. That makes it like, it's like, hey, if you're gonna charge more than $10 for something like this, it should be a quality product. It's like it's got 80 tokens in it. It's got a bunch of maps. Blah blah blah. The price point's fine. I was testing around, and like a $15 price point for this is going to be a hell of a deal. So I'm going to put it as a $20 price tag, But I'm going to, all my advertising is going to offer a $5 discount so that if you catch wind of it through me, you only have to spend $15 on it. And then once it gets bundled with other things, it'll be $15 in the bundle, and then all the other things will be like half off. It's like $5 for living ships. But if you pick it up with the bundle, like this will be 20 and living ships will be 5. But if you pick them up together, then this will be 15 and living ships will be $250. So you'll get $25 worth of book and stuff for $17.50. So it'll be like 30% off. So decent drops. It works really well with the color mana spell point variant rules. There's like $35 worth of books in that for $21, and I get new sales almost every week at this point. It's been around for 4 years, so that I get sales every month, like multiple sales each month. Still, after 4 years, that's very encouraging. But also tells me that the price point is good. But I'm actually offering like that, like color mana, getting sales each week for 20 some odd bucks. That's great, but it's also an incredibly niche audience, which tells me that something more universally useful like this well, I mean, the DM's Guild's kind of a shit show right now, but there's a lot of potential of this being a lot more useful to people than what color mana is, and I'm really excited about that. So anyway, I'm talking about business. I need to stop. The creativity inspires business. The business inspires creativity. They are linked. But sometimes I feel like I'm not relating to the audience when I go into a tangent about my own stuff like that. Like my hopes and dreams and aspirations is like, I don't know. We'll see. But these are things I'm going to do regardless. I mean, I want to do a book of sidekick ships. I want to do a book of War Mecha. I want to do a book for all these things. I'm going to do it regardless. That there's a venue where I can publish it. That's just icing. Well, I'll get this done today. Maybe we'll work on some of the other pages as well. I'm not sure if we'll get to them or not. This is going to eat time. Speaking of time, Bootleg, how you doing? Early is on time, my guy. Good, good. I don't mean to be micromanaging you. That's a bigger, what you have on your plate right now is a proportionately bigger deal than what I've got going on right now. So I'm just kind of leaning into your space a little bit like that. Don't mind me. Eye booger. Yeah. No problem. I'm just pushing pixels. That's all I'm going to do regardless. It doesn't matter really what I'm thinking about or what I'm saying. The pixels got to get pushed. There we go. This is why I like to stream in the first place, is because the burden of monotony when I'm doing, as things move further into production and it becomes less and less creative work, the more burden it becomes for me to perform the task. If I'm not being inspired by some sort of creative process, then I'm pretty fucking lazy. So I have to combat that laziness with accountability. So streaming like this forces accountability. And because I'm holding myself to a standard of showing up every day and getting stuff done, essentially is how that works. But this is also good training for like Kickstarter projects, like to hold myself accountable to other people's expectations. No one has expectations of me right now, other than publish the thing. But once I start getting into Kickstarters, that expectation shifts, because these are now paid customers instead of potential customers. Big difference in energy. Bring the energy. Sure, Chicky. I want to make sure I fade that in good. There we go. Why is this? Thank you. So what's this sketch over here? Like this minutia here is mind numbing, but I have to keep working it. I can't just press a filter and make this happen. This is manual grind, and it is the most grindy of grinds. Oh man, I've got more Spelljammer campaign that I'm going to be homebrewing during lunch today in about probably about 5 hours from now. I started yesterday, and we're continuing today. I have a session 0 with my home table tomorrow, so I need to have enough mechanic. I need to have enough meat on the bone for the Spelljammer campaign for them to get a little better idea about where the campaign is going to go and how we're going to play it out. So today I'm going to be exploring their mining guild, the resources that the guild has available to them from the start, and how they can accumulate more and what they can do with the resources when they acquire it. So that's a heavy workload for the day. But we're going to see how far into that we can dig today so that I can bring it to them tomorrow, which is how I'm spending my lunch tomorrow, so I won't be on stream. I'm normally not on stream on Wednesdays. It's typically Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday lunches where I'm building out stuff. I had been building out the martial power stuff, but that's on pause because I need to build out that campaign specifically. And that's going to take... I have to get the Spelljammer off my plate for me to have the bandwidth for me to be able to build the Rubble Belt campaign for the Martial Powers playtest. How's your timestamp? All right, good luck, my guy. Best of luck to you. Hopefully this leads to something positive for you. Where am I at? 7:30? Cool. So I'll fuck around with this for another 20 minutes and we'll bounce. Later, skater. pot of gold. This is turning out pretty good. I'm happy with it. Working our way around the page. Blendability. Bump. Yeah. Blendability. I feel like a coffee break, so I'm going to take one. My flavor today is peppermint mocha. It's fairly tasty. Can I get away with that? Ooh, signs are pointing very yes-wordly. Yes-wordly? That's a coinable word. Yes-wordly. God, it's grinding the pixels is infuriating. There, very good. Nice. It's a pain in the ass, but the results are undeniable. I should zoom in instead of lean in, you know? Yeah, we can just clean cut under here. That's fine. We can square that off. We have enough block framing in other places where we can get away with it here as well and remain on theme. To the point, I'm nice. Blend that in, blend in, blend in. Let's just push this into that space here. Fog that up, and we'll just carve it out. Some frog action going outside my window, man. I think some frogs ended up in a puddle or something and are lost and confused. I feel bad about them, but it's not the place to save them either. How about this instead? Thank you. So I can just reduce the opacity on this and then carve away the stuff that's covering up the tail. So I don't mind painting over it right now. It's not the right way to do it. It's killing the perspective. So it has to go. But it's not wrong to be here. It actually helps the masking over that actually helps make sure that the fog, the cloud bank is smoothed into itself properly like this. Even the undo button is a massive luxury. Painting used to have to be like, painting's easy mode, man. Like digital painting, super easy mode. There's little regret that you have to contend with. Like sculpting and like oil painting, that's playing for keeps, man. You screw that up, you gotta work to resolve it. This digital stuff is super easy mode. It's also, I mean, since I don't see any color, it's pretty much the only way I can do the kind of illustrations that I want to be able to operate in a digital space. Like, it's impossible for me to mix colors. I simply can't do it. This is the only way that I currently have the skill set to be able to paint in color. Because I need the RGB gauge over there to tell me what's going on with the piece, and I need to be able to color sample. I can't do it by eye. I mean, literally. So I recognize that I'm using the tools necessary for me to be able to operate in the space that I want to, which makes me somewhat sympathetic to the AI arguments out there about making art more accessible to more people. My ethic issues currently is I would love to use AI. It's like, yeah, just resolve all the pixel stuff here for these clouds that I'm doing. But as it stands currently, I would have to be stealing the work of others that didn't volunteer it for me to be able to achieve that effect. If we can get to a place where an AI program can just study my own work and develop my own style specifically in a closed environment that's not stealing, borrowing from other people, then I would legitimately be interested in using that technology, because I would be training it personally myself. I don't know how to do that, and I don't want to bother investing the time, because the amount of time that it would take for me to learn how to do that, I could have just done everything I need the AI to do for me. So I'm more than happy to buy an AI package if it can meet those advanced requirements. And then I would be happy to have one. I've been interested, almost salivating with the idea that I could take some of my own sketches and then have an AI that knows my style specifically to be able to render that out. It's like, this is how Phil would do it. But and then be able to work through it and touch it up and do all that stuff, because I need to be able to. If I do that, I'm hindering my own creative experience and my own development and my own skill set. Like, the more often I have an AI render clouds for me, the less skilled I become at rendering clouds. Like, I am choosing to offload that creative experience to an algorithm that doesn't care. That doesn't necessarily, that might, but probably won't know how to apply the tools acquired. I need to fix my chair. I can't advance my skill if all I have to do is press a button, which is like a lot of times why I fight. Like, I'll do a gradient fill if I have to have a really, like, if there's a need for high glossiness or a really smooth pixel transfer curve from one color to another, like through a gradient. I'll manually do the gradients if the piece will allow me to do it, like to look at the level of quality that I want for the level of skill that I can produce in manually producing a gradient. Like, I'll do it. I do it in skies a lot, like in like background skies and stuff. So there's an argument that not using AI would ultimately be to my benefit as an artist, not necessarily as a creator, but as an artist. Alright, my program just locked up again. Subtle hint. So let's drop that out and reopen it. Drop it down to really low strength so I can cut away the hard edges, smooth them in together. Now I'm just improving the picture. Like there's no end to the amount of rendering that you can do in clouds to make them look good. It's just like, it's more than anything is you give up on clouds. There's an infinite level of tufting and fluffing you can do with clouds. Better. There you go. Uh-oh. All right. Well, let me go ahead and kill that off. And good. Didn't quite get it done. I'll probably finish it up tonight when I need some downtime in my brain. Got a lot going on here. There, nice clean edge. Nice clean edge. Actually push this down here a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it stays stronger as a clean edge or if blur helps it. But we can decide that another day. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out of here for now, guys. I'm going to be back in about probably in about 4.5 hours. for us to continue developing the Spelljammer campaign that I'll be running from my home table, just walking you through the creative process that I go through as a DM to build stuff out, to systemize campaigns. Just you can see the process. I run campaigns from level 1 to 20 in about 200 to 250 hours, and I know there's not a lot of people who do that. So this is an opportunity for folks to take a look at the kind of design decisions that I make as a DM that operates at that caliber. So, not bragging, just saying I've been doing it for 30 some odd years. I've scaled up over time. And so I think there might be some usefulness in watching me go through that creative process with you guys to see how I think through that stuff. So, whatever. It's to you or it's not. Whatever. But I'm always here. So, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notification when I'm live again. And I will see you guys when I get to. Later, all.